Hi, this is Polk Wagner, and I'm happy to have this opportunity to talk to you about the Introduction to IP course that's available to you in the spring. So let's talk real quickly about the goals of the course. I think there are a few. One is to provide an entry point into the Penn Law IP program. We have a 3-year program in the area of IP and technology law at Penn. It starts with this course in the first year. In the second year, we traditionally have students taking copyright, patent, and trademark courses. And then in their third year, you can move into more advanced courses on various aspects of intellectual property law across all of the different subjects, as well as seminars, moot courts, and our famous intellectual property law clinic. So this course provides a way to get into this program right at the beginning of your law school career. A second major goal is to provide a compact look at modern intellectual property law. We're going to cover a lot of the current issues in intellectual property and indeed in business generally. Things like fashion, branding, online search all deal with trademarks. In the copyright area, of course, we have file sharing in places like YouTube. New streaming models and new business models are creating a lot of pressure on the copyright law. In the patent area, we're seeing more and more patenting of new types of technologies such as DNA and software. And of course, there's real questions about whether the patent system is working well with the advent of what are generally known as patent trolls. In the trade secrets area, we don't spend a lot of time on this in the course, but we'll spend some. And we'll talk about things like industrial espionage, computer security, and how you protect yourself without resorting to the more formal aspects of IP. And the background of the course is about national innovation policy, because that really, at the end of the day, is what intellectual property law is all about. So why take intellectual property in spring 2018? Well, I think there are at least 3 reasons. One, it's really useful for your post-1L summer work. We hear over and over and over again that students go on and work either for a law firm or a judge in the summer, and IP issues come up all the time. We're one of the relatively few law schools that offers intellectual property law to 1Ls in the spring of their first year, and this I think provides a real advantage to Penn students when they go out and work this summer. IP issues, as I've mentioned before, lurk everywhere in law and business. You're going to see them throughout the rest of your career at the law school. Being able to identify and analyze those early, I think, is an advantage and a reason to take the course now. And it's also designed as an introduction to explore your interests. Maybe you're interested in IP. Maybe you're casually interested and want to see what it's all about. The course is designed for that as well. So why do I like teaching IP? So I like IP because it's important. We know that IP rights are critical to national industrial policy. This is now what the United States does. We went from the industrial age and we're now in the information age. It is at the core of the modern U.S. economy. Almost all of the major businesses that you think about now have a major component of intellectual property at their core, and I think that's only going to continue to grow. Another reason I like intellectual property law is what I call the plate tectonics of it, which is that there have been remarkable changes in technology over the last, say, 20, 30 years that has really changed the way that we think about how we consume, for example, movies and TV and music. All of these implicate intellectual property rights to a really significant extent, and IP rights are what is determining how we consume media these days. The similar thing is happening in patents. We're seeing chemicals and pharmaceuticals, traditional areas of patenting, are changing, and we're seeing it move all the way to the end of business and finance, where people are really questioning whether patent rights are useful in these areas or whether they're even appropriate at all. Trademarks, we're seeing the emergence of the global mega brand, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, and then we're seeing changes of business models where people are disassociating their marks from the underlying products and selling simply the trademark or the brand rather than the physical good itself, which is an interesting change in the way it goes. There's also been a huge explosion in intellectual property activity. We have more patents filed than ever before, more IP litigation than ever before. Virtually every major law firm now has a substantial IP practice. The Supreme Court, even the last bastion of sort of traditionalism, is now taking more and more intellectual property cases. Just in the last couple of years, they've taken more than 12 IP cases and screwed them all up, which is great for us who teach in the area. We have relatively limited knowledge about what's going on in the IP system, by which I mean we don't know whether the costs and benefits are working out, which makes it an interesting area to study. We know for sure that the costs are increasing, and in fact increasing fairly substantially. What we don't know as much about is whether the benefits are increasing as well. The rules are not set yet. Which I think is an exciting time to be an IP lawyer, because in fact it's the lawyers who are going to ultimately decide how the regulatory framework of the new economy is established, and so many people in this room today are going to be the ones who are helping set what these rules are, how these new business models are going to work. So finally, talk a little bit about course administration. I run everything through the Canvas system. The readings are there. There is a casebook. It's a good casebook. The reading load is pretty heavy, so if you don't like to read, this wouldn't be a course for you. The class sessions are a mix of cold calling and volunteer. I do post all the slides and I record all the classes, so if you miss or feel like you're not keeping up, you can keep up that way. I do have some class exercises that we do from time to time, usually pretty popular in the class, mostly in group and mostly in class. You do not need a technical background to take Intro to IP. That's one of the most common questions I get, and you do not need it. I've checked. There's no correlation between success in the course and technical background. Take it regardless of your technical background. I do quizzes to help you with your reading comprehension. They can be worked on together. They take about 5 or 10 minutes before each class session. They're administered through Canvas. You get a bunch of drops. They're pretty low key, but I think they help enormously in terms of making sure that when you come into class, you've grasped the basic concepts that I'm hoping you'll get out of the reading. The grading scheme is a final exam, which is a mostly multiple choice exam with some short answers mixed in as well. That's 80% of the grade. Your course participation, which includes the exercises, is 10%, and the quizzes are 10%. Feel free to come by and find me. You can come to my office at Golkin 231 or send me an email. Happy to chat about the course at any time, and I'll see you in the spring. Thanks for this opportunity.